The issue with the NBA TV ratings being down is something that I saw within the first week, or when the first week finished. And I thought to myself, you know what? It's still early. Let me not really go in depth about it. Now the second week has ended and there's reports again that ratings are still down. And once I saw Shaq started talking about it, that's when I really knew it's an issue. Of course, we know Shaq is a part of the Inside the NBA crew. I have the video where he's explaining what he thinks the issue is. I'm going to play it for y'all in just a bit. I want to get into, though, that TNT part of this, since we know this is their last year that they will have the rights to broadcast the NBA games. They lost the deal to the Amazon, the NBC, and the new direction the NBA wanted to go to. This is very important to bring up because Adam Silver has been questioned about where are you going to go in the future without a staple like Inside the NBA being lost. And Adam Silver has always said streaming is where it's at. That Amazon deal, that part of it that they didn't want to give up to TNT when they matched it and there was some legal issues there. Adam Silver and the NBA really believe that social media and people watching it online is where the direction is going, and that's what they're trying to bank on. Just to give another example, there was a recent episode on ESPN First Take where Mark Cuban joined the show. Shannon Sharp started asking him, how is the NBA going to compete now that they have Christmas games, the NFL, on the same day the NBA does? December 25th is going to be a real battle for both leagues.
The biggest day of the year for you really is Christmas Day. And now you're going to have to share it with the NFL.
That's okay. I mean, look, we all look at television as the end-all be-all for ratings and everything, but it's not. You know, when you look at what's happening with kids, the end-all be-all is social media. And Shay, who dominates on social media? Just tell me, Club Shay.
NBA. The NBA dominates. It's not even close.
And as I've said before, Adam Silver works for the owners. It's not necessarily the other way around. When you hear a guy like Mark Cuban back in this same sentiment, it's something that they truly believe. But first, let's get into what Shaq had to say he thinks is the reason why the NBA ratings are down. He said some interesting points that I actually want to analyze, and then from there, we'll actually break down the numbers of these ratings in comparison to previous years.
I have a theory that it's down because we're looking at the same thing. Everybody's running the same plays at the damn top of the key, dribble handoff. I was talking to a coach yesterday. He said they want to shoot 53s. But, you know, they were trying to contemplate if I could play in this era. It's like, yo, Shaq, we would just shoot 53s. And I was like, well, how much you want to make? We want to make about 10 or 15 of them. I was like, well, that's not going to help you win. But I think everybody's looking at the same thing. And Steph Curry and those guys messed it up. Like, I don't mind Golden State back in the day shooting threes, but every team's not a three-point shooter. So why everybody has the same strategy? I think viewership will continue to go down unless we switch things back up.
On that TNT opening night, there were 2 games. There were 162 threes shot in those 2 games alone.
One of the very first videos I did on this YouTube channel was called the Steph Curry Effect, and I'm showing the statistics of the three-point shot going up slowly every year when Steph Curry got into the league, but it's not until he won the championship when that number exploded and you really saw the change of how the way the game is played with all the three-point shot attempts. I bring that up because when KG was sitting in front of Adam Silver and Adam Silver told him to his face the reason why we had to take out so much physicality out of the game the way it was played was due to it being a hard brand of basketball to watch, and if they continued in that direction, it wouldn't allow a player like Steph Curry to flourish the way that we see him doing in this current moment. Well, if that's the case, why are fans tuning out from this exciting new brand of basketball? The style that people say is a lot more skilled when it comes to the current players of today's game who are much better than the old players who used to play in the past. I see the sentiment a lot from NBA fans as well as NBA players, but I'll tell you why. It's kind of like the All-Star game. People get tired of seeing just three-pointer after three-pointer. It's all offense, not a lot of defense being played. It's almost like a video game. This also leans into what Derek Fisher said, Shaquille O'Neal's former teammate who he won championships with, when he was talking about today's game leaning so much into the entertainment aspect of it.
I watched the NBA today. I sometimes compare it to, like, if, you know, for those of you that remember when the WWE was WWF. But there was a time where WWE was WWF,
right.
World Wrestling Federation.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it shifted to World Wrestling Entertainment.
Right.
It's not a negative thing.
Right.
It is built more for the entertainment value maybe than the competitive value.
And so I'm just trying to show how intentional it was on the NBA's part to give us this style of basketball that we see. It's early. Maybe the ratings will jump through the roof in a couple of weeks leading up to the Christmas games, the New Year. We're going to see this all unfold in front of us. Let me also be objective as possible and make this point I'm about to say. Yes, the old school style of basketball can get boring. Throw it down low in the post, play inside out, half court offense, everything is slowed down. I think what we need is a balance. Hit me up in the comment section if that's what you are also believing as well. Something that allows NBA players to not play fully slow down and just throw it in the post all of the time, but at the same time is not allowing players just to freely shoot three-pointers all day long and there's no physicality in the game. And what I mean by no physicality in the game, of course there's still physical aspects of basketball in the NBA at the highest level. As a fan, however, when I'm watching somebody lower their shoulder a little bit or they run into a guy, all of a sudden the game stops, 5 minutes at the cameras checking if it's a flagrant foul or talking about an ejection. I really hate that as a fan. It doesn't make me want to watch the game more when I see stuff like that happening.
My kids was young. I'm going to their games and kids are jacking up shots like they Steph Curry out of. Those are horrible shots.
Right.
and the first thing they do, they come off the bench and they shooting shots, and instead of making a move going to the cup, they're shooting heaves from half court. I'm like, this is awful basketball. This guy has a gift.
Now, I don't want to blame this all on the three-point shot and the style of offense that's being played. It does have a significant role. However, the real issue is how do you gain the newer generation, specifically their attention to watch games in its entirety versus just going on social media, watching a few clips of players dunking, compilations of crossovers, or the biggest highlight, and then moving on. That's the other side of the coin they got to figure out when it comes to relying on Amazon, online streaming services, Instagram, YouTube, X, you name it. Now let me read you an article that was published by Awful announcing this was at the end of the first week of the NBA season where they were comparing the viewership going down, and this was by Drew Lerner. Starts off by saying the opening week of the NBA regular season started strong but fell off during Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday after TNT increased its opening night viewership by 6% year over year on Tuesday. The rest of the week's NBA window saw declines. ESPN's opening doubleheader on Wednesday averaged 1.6 million viewers, down 42% from the network's opening games in 2023 that featured the rookie debut of San Antonio Spurs center Victor Wembanyama. The Milwaukee Bucks and Philadelphia 76ers opened ESPN's 2024 season with 1.171 million viewers, down from 2.55 million viewers for the Boston Celtics and New York Knicks in 2023. This Bucks and Philadelphia game was nationally televised. It was supposed to be a big one, Joel Embiid versus Giannis. As we know, Joel Embiid, the Philadelphia 76ers, they announced he's going to be out just before the season started. The NBA didn't like this. This is what prompted the participation policy investigation. And as I was saying in that video when I was breaking this down, the NBA's main concern isn't the fan who buys a ticket and then finds out their favorite player isn't playing. The ticket is already bought. They'll go sit down and watch the game. Where their main focus is when a Joel Embiid is not playing in a nationally televised game and you have numerous people who say, you know what, I'm just going to flip the channel and watch something else. The article goes on to explain the Phoenix Suns and Los Angeles Clippers game was down 49% from last year's. Again, this is from the first week of the NBA. I'm going to get into the previous week that just passed. It also states the San Antonio Spurs and Dallas Mavericks one was down 29% from last year. It goes on to also mention that the Indiana Pacers and New York Knicks drew 830,000 viewers, which was fewer than a Louisville-Boston college football game that was on ESPN2 of that same night. As for the second week that just passed on Sports Media Watch, an article by John Lewis reported that ESPN's ratings are still down for the full 2 weeks, 34%, and TNT is down 14%. I'm surprised at TNT, given that this is the last year that they have the rights to broadcast the NBA. I would think that a lot of people would tune in to really watch and see that dynamic of Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, Kenny the Jet, Ernie one last time before it's too late. What do you guys think is the real reason the NBA ratings are down so far within these first 2 weeks? It's still early. As I mentioned, it could change and everything's back to normal. I would love to hear your opinion on this though. And as always, salute for listening. Peace.